Hi, thanks for joining me. A big meeting brought officials from Louisiana to South Mississippi to talk about the disastrous Bonnet Carre Spillway openings and other water diversion projects that will impact our state. Dr. Moby Solangi with the Institute for Marine Mammal Studies and the Mississippi Sound Coalition was there, and now he's here to reveal what was discussed. Moby, good to see you, and thanks for joining us. 2019 forever remembered for the disaster of the opening, first time in history in consecutive years, first time twice in 1 year, destroyed fisheries, wrecked tourism. Louisiana officials were basically over here explaining themselves, weren't they?
Well, yeah, I think they recognize that this is an issue beyond their borders, and they have to now do something about it. So it's a good campaign for them to now to say, hey, Mississippi has wanted a voice in it. They've never had a say-so, and now I think they recognize that their activities in Louisiana don't stay in Louisiana, they come and affect Mississippi.
Do you think like the forming of the Sound Coalition and the fact that the Attorney General is filing a lawsuit and that others here in Mississippi are finally starting to speak out, sort of force their hand? You think that's one takeaway?
Absolutely. I think the Mississippi Sound Coalition is a very important organization for the Gulf Coast. If we as a group have a lot of effect on the state legislature. And so the unity on the coast was unanimous. I think the coalition is going to be one of the forces that will make sure that we are protected.
The one thing I fear is Bonnet Carre Spillway, the pressure we're putting on Louisiana might work. They may rethink that and go with Morganza next year if they have more rain in the Midwest. I think we've had an impact there. But they have 2 or 3 other diversion projects that are already funded, are being permitted right now, and I've always felt that it's hard to stop something that is that far along. What's your sense on that?
Well, I think it's not as bad as we all think. They were moving forward thinking that there was no objection. Their environmental impact statements did not include Mississippi. They believe that the Britain Sound, for example, which is going to have a direct impact on Mississippi, is not connected somehow to the ecosystem. The problem we have that is the Mississippi Sound, Britain Sound, and Chandelier Sound is one ecosystem, and one depends on the other. You can't take away my legs and one arm and say I am whole. And so what happens in Britain Sound is going to be something that we need to study and make sure it doesn't affect us.
Something happened in 2018 that I'm not even sure most people in Mississippi even know about, and to me it's a disaster. As part of the 2018 budget, there was a waiver given on the Marine Mammal Protection Act, which is very near and dear to your heart. How disastrous is that?
I think the waivers are normally given for mitigation purposes, like tuna fisheries or if you're dredging, but you have to do a study and there's a limit. This one, I don't believe that the scientists agreed to the waiver, the unlimited waiver. They went through Congress and got Congress to force NOAA to give them a waiver, which means that in this process and throughout the operation, any number of animals, that means dolphins, can be killed and their habitats destroyed. That is something that needs to be rectified because it did not go through a process.
These last couple weeks you had a sea turtle release, 2 turtles that you released out into the Mississippi Sound. Satellite tags were put on those turtles. This is all part of a study of habitat and behavior. How important is this going to be? And it's also kind of in conjunction with some BP settlement money being spent that we're seeing.
Exactly. I think it was very important. What we have shown that these satellite tagged turtles, as they were released, went through Chandelier Sound and into Britain Sound. So that tells me the animals are telling us something. Forget what human beings say, this is this or this is that. The animal is speaking to us through that transmitter saying, as soon as you released with me, I went to Chandelier and Britain and this is my home. And so that debunks the theory that each one of these sounds is separate and it is not interdependent. It is.
Okay, and finally, just about 30 seconds left. Your thoughts on what I said a little while ago, where we may, through pressure, stop a Bonnet Carre thing, force some organza openings, making sure water goes more into the Atchafalaya Basin rather than the Mississippi Sound. Do you believe that in 2020 we may succeed in that effort?
That I don't know. The Morganza hasn't been used. I think there's a problem if they open it up. They may not be able to close it. Who knows? There's been talk about that. These other diversions that you talk about, they're more than the Britain Sound diversion. There are already 5 passes that are spewing all sorts of river water, which has all these pollutants,
yeah.
which is what the problem is. It's not the so-called fresh water. It is what is going to destroy
Agriculture
the ecosystem.
runoff, economic development that's happening in the Midwest, all of that's getting into our Mississippi Sound. Moby, thanks so much for being with us, okay?
Thank you.
Well, remember, we encourage you to comment on all of our stories on our Facebook page and Twitter. Remember, for all the news all the time, all you have to do is go to WLOX.com.